And welcome back to Janky AF. Now here we have a beautiful 2013 Subaru Impreza in cloudless sky blue. Now cloudless sky blue is an interesting color for this car, this particular car, and I did make that color up, but it works well with the analogy, so go with me here for a second. Now you see, a cloudless sky would mean that the sky is 100% filled with blue. Whole, complete, entire. And I say it's an interesting color for this particular car because this particular car is comprised not of things that are entire, but rather entirely of things that are partial. For example, it's a partial zero emissions vehicle. Now this phrase could have only come out of California and is a rare complete for this car because it's complete bull. It's also partially bumpered. Now there's clearly no need for a bumper like this when such a small collision would cause such massive demolition to it. But going back to our last point, there's probably actually even partially less zero emissions with it this way. Even the windows get in the game, as these nice deep scratches offer partial obstruction of your view out of the vehicle. Now another thing that's complete about this car is that it does have all-wheel drive. It's even running all-season tires. But don't get your hopes up too high because the name all-season tires is only partially accurate. They do work in all seasons except the season of winter. So as you'd expect, as a whole, the car is in partially good running condition. It currently has no washer fluid in it, and it's developing a nice steering wobble. But like all cars, it all adds up to a great car. So let's go friggin' drive it, shall we? Hey. And welcome back to Janky AF. Now here we are driving this beautiful 2013 Subaru Impreza, and if I don't put my hands on the wheel, we are clearly drifting into the wrong lane. A little bit of low speed wobble from the wheel and a little drift to the left, but James is going to get that fixed tomorrow. So, you know, I'm not going to go into the specifics of a 2013 Impreza. Okay, it has the Boxer 4 engine like all Subarus do. It makes 148 horsepower, 145 pound-feet of torque. Now, maybe I reverse those. And this whole review is just going to be about Subaru as a brand generally because Subaru is, to me, one of my favorite brands. I love it. I love how quirky they are. I love how they have a huge following, a huge fan base. But a lot of things that Subaru does also, they don't aggravate me, but I don't know that I would ever own a Subaru myself. On my girlfriend Julia's car, she has an 09 Forester, for example. She has two entire muffler and exhaust systems for a little 4-cylinder engine that doesn't make that much power. So I have no idea why that is necessary. Now, of course, this is upstate New York, so mufflers are going to rust out. James had some muffler work done on his. Other than that, it's been pretty good maintenance-wise. But the way Julia sums it up, and I think this is a pretty good summation in general for Subarus, is that there's always going to be something wrong with them, and they're always going to have to dump money into them. Now, obviously, they have the head gasket issues. Everyone knows that Subaru, these Boxer engines, they have head gasket issues, but those head gaskets tend to leak slowly over time, so you can still kind of drive them. So that's why she loves hers, because there'll always be something going on with it. There'll always be something wrong with it. It's very hard and very expensive to keep a Subaru in tip-top shape all the time. That being said, as we have some blue lights here, we're going to pull over. Luckily, the car does turn to the right with a little more force. But that being said, they'll always get you where you want to go. And I think that is Subaru's sort of like mark, and I think that it is true. It is truth in advertising that Subarus are these very rugged, very reliable, very dependable cars. But I think being a Japanese automaker, they sort of are in competition, you know, most directly with like Honda and with Toyota. And when it comes to those companies, I feel like Subarus are much more like a German manufacturer, where their cars are like engineered very good. They have these very specific things that they like to do, this brand identity that's very tight. The Boxer engine on their website, they rave about their Boxer engine and all the advantages of it, why it's better, why it's, you know, it's lower to the ground for your center of gravity of your car. And, you know, they rave about this Boxer engine, why they put it in all these things in all their vehicles. But you do wonder if that's kind of just like a lot of hullabaloo, because just like a German Audi or something like that saying how great their engineering is, well, guess what? When you over-engineer something, then it might work well when it's working well, but it's going to break more often because there's more parts to break, and it's going to cost more to maintain. So Subaru is this weird niche to me where it's like a German as we pass another Subaru coming down. Now you can't blink an eye or, you know, look down the bowl of a toilet without seeing a Subaru in this part of the country. Yeah, go ahead.
In grad school, there were 3 of us with the same exact car, and the same color though.
There you go. Oh, it's always Subaru blue.
This car,
yeah. Cloudless sky, cloudless sky blue. As we do have a nearly cloudless sky here. Oh, there's Carl. Another car we've reviewed on Janky AF, and hopefully this time no cameras get run over in the process. So that's a basic summation of Subaru. That's my basic take on Subaru. Now the interior of this car, very, very nice. Your shift lever has like a, let's put it into just neutral a second, actually quite a nice action on here. And they do kind of fit this middle of the road territory where, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but that they're expensive cars. Now I believe James paid around $16,000 or $17,000 for this car, used with around 27,000 miles on it. And if you look at Subarus, and now car prices of course are higher than they always have been, or that they ever have been. But it's hard to find any Subaru for less than $10,000 with less than 100,000 miles on it. They hold their resale value extremely well. And I think that's the thing about Subarus, where like a Jeep Wrangler or like some of these like enthusiast cars, it's like the whole brand is an enthusiast car. So it's amazing that they hold their resale values really well. So even if it's expensive to maintain, or, you know, gonna cost a lot of money to buy up front, in all likelihood you're gonna get that money or a lot of that money back. So in that way they are still a really, really good buy. The interior, it's you know, nicer than a lot of other, you know, cars sort of in this size, but you got the all-wheel drive, and that's Subaru, of course, their other calling card is all-wheel drive. So it's just a funny brand to me, where it's not luxury, but it's not economy. It's not really a performance car, even though they do make the WRX, and it's not really sort of a bare bones commuter car too, because it does have this all-wheel drive system, which you're going to pay a premium for. Exterior styling, I personally, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with the styling, but there's nothing remarkable about the styling. There's almost no Subarus, and you can hate me for this, but I don't think I've ever seen a single Subaru that just caught my eye and said, what a beautiful car that is. And I think that's because their entire mantra, their entire thing is built around practicality and purposefulness. Now in the Janky ethos, I love that. I love those things, but they all seem to sort of look the same. And there's a lot of cladding going on. There's a lot of angles going on. So that just is what it is. You know, that's your basic Subaru thing. So in terms of the performance, well, I think we should gas it at least once and see what we're working with here out of this 2-liter engine. So you ready? We're getting a little bit more wobble here. But yeah, the steering is not very confidence inspiring, and we're getting a lot of shake and wobble now. You said it was a low speed wobble, but it turns out it's also a medium to high speed wobble. I will say the steering, when you're just cruising along, it doesn't feel like anything special, but I feel like as you pick up speed, it does start to get a bit heavier, which I like. And obviously with the all-wheel drive, it does feel very planted. Now, obviously in the intro of this review, I kind of made fun of this car, and one of the things I made fun of was the all-season tires. Now, I actually just watched a great review, or a great test, I forget the company now, I'll try to put it in the description there, about a front-wheel drive car with snow tires versus an all-wheel drive car with all-season tires. And they did a mini Clubman for this review, and which happens to come in all-wheel drive and front-wheel drive. So it was literally the exact same car except for like the powertrain or the drivetrain. So that was a pretty fair test. And what's funny is the all-wheel drive car does much, much better, even with all-season tires, in terms of acceleration. But the other thing was, when they were going around this snow course, they were kind of drifting it. So, you know, in normal conditions, you're not going to be drifting your car around corners on, you know, public roads, especially in the wintertime. But the downside was, and where the front-wheel drive car did much, much better, was turn in, so when you're heading into a corner, and in braking. Now, whether it's performance driving, whether it's winter driving, whether it's driving in general, everybody wants to talk about acceleration, everyone wants to talk about how fast it's going to go in a straight line, and everyone wants to talk about 0 to 60 numbers, 0 to 100 numbers, quarter mile, blah, blah, blah. The most important part of a car is, of course, your brakes, because it's a lot easier to go fast in a straight line when you can see everything ahead of you as it is to immediately have to stomp on the brakes when something comes up. And I think especially in winter driving, braking is the most important thing. Yes, you want to get out of a snowy uphill climb, but the front-wheel drive car with these snow tires didn't necessarily do it worse, it just did it slower. But if you're just trying to get up a hill or something, now I have a 2012 Ford Transit, I just chugged up a completely snow-covered hill when I was dropping off some scaffold the other day, and I was amazed because it has traction control, when it kind of locked up, it got you up the hill. I was really impressed with it. So in terms of the whole snow tires debate, now what I don't understand, what I always say is, even though it's all-wheel drive, like, why don't you still get snow tires for it anyways? Because then you'll be unstoppable. Then you'll just be a tank, and then you'll get the best of both worlds, where you'll be able to accelerate good and pull out of corners good, but your turn in going into a corner will also be good, and your braking will also be much, much better. So I encourage everyone out there who's living in the Northeast, even if they have an all-wheel drive car like a Subaru, to get winter tires.
Maybe.
I can't tell you how many times I asked people, I go, oh, do you run winter tires on it? And they go, no, they got all seasons.
Well, it's just what they gave me, and then I took it as an excuse to never get winter tires.
Sure. I mean, like I said, I think you're in a much, much better position having the all-wheel drive. It's not for nothing, but that's just my little janky, take. So, what else can I tell you about this car? It's a great car, and the other thing that comes back to Subaru is I find a lot of Subaru owners, and this is totally anecdotal, but I find a lot of Subaru owners, and speaking to the resale value of the car, Subaru owners beat the piss out of their cars. Like, they trash their cars. I've seen so many Subarus that the interiors are kind of like all beat up. Again, the bumper's missing, there's scratches in the glass, the interior is dirty, it's covered with grime and hasn't really been detailed in a long while. But I think, just like with the Jeep Wrangler, it's sort of a point of pride. Like, this car can take a licking and keep on kicking, and I think that's a really, really enduring thing about Subarus. I love that they're not show cars. I love that they get used, they get abused, and they keep going. And the head gasket thing, they get a bad rap for the head gaskets, and a lot of the older ones, before they had timing chains, got to do your timing belt and maybe your water pump while you're down in there. Julia had her car serviced, and I think it was like $1,800, and that's going to happen every 100,000 miles. So if the rest of your car is relatively maintenance free, that's not a huge amount of money to chunk down for a major service that's going to get you another 100,000 miles of reliability. So that's what I'll say about that. So this 2013 Impreza, it's almost 10 years old now. It's got 91,000 miles, and aside from this issue, which is going to get corrected probably with an alignment, is a great car. So thank you so much to James for allowing us to take this for a drive. It was a pleasure. And if there's anyone out there that's Subaru curious, I think you should test drive one, and hopefully you can do it in winter and get some snow under the tires and feel how it goes. And, you know, just enjoy it. And here we are now at Brewery Omegang. Shout out to Brewery Omegang. If they'd like to sponsor this video, please get in touch and send us some money. We're a growing young channel, and on that note, we'd appreciate it and love it if you'd subscribe for more. It really helps us out a lot, and it just takes a click of a button. It's like, you know, throwing a homeless person $1 or $2. You know, you're gonna make their life better, and you're gonna feel better about your life too, so why not? It's a win-win. We'll straighten out the wheel here, which is not indicative of the way the tires are pointing, unfortunately, but we'll get that resolved. Click it into park, and there you go. So until next time, Janky Do Thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
3, 2, 1. I'm sure the Subaru company is really going to want to work with me after this.